What if I told you that the number one wealth building tool in the world isn't a stock tip, a side hustle, or a crypto coin? It's a budget? That's not sexy. That's not exciting. And that's exactly why it works. In Chapter 2 of the Millionaire Next Door, Stanley and Danko take you inside the daily financial habits of real millionaires. And the word that comes up over and over and over again is frugal. Not cheap, not deprived, but frugal. There's a massive difference between them, and understanding that difference is the key to building wealth that lasts. Let's break it down. Most people who earn high incomes do not become wealthy. Why? Because they spend it all. They call this the income statement affluent, people who look rich on a payslip but poor on a balance sheet. A surgeon earning $700,000 a year who spends $680,000 is in worse financial shape than a teacher earning $60,000 who saves $15,000. So, how do actual millionaires handle money? The researchers found consistent patterns. First, millionaires operate on a household budget. This surprised the researchers more than almost anything. Over half the millionaires in their study actively planned and controlled their household spending. They knew what they spent on food, clothing, housing, and entertainment, not roughly, but precisely. Most high-income non-millionaires, by contrast, had no budget at all. They just spent and hoped there would be something left over. There usually wasn't. Second, millionaires create an environment of scarcity. Even when they could afford to spend more, they chose not to. Stanley calls this playing defense. Offense is your income, what you earn. Defense is your frugality, what you keep. And millionaires win on defense. They do this by making frugality automatic. They invest first, then spend what's left, never the other way around. By the time their paycheck filters through savings, investments, and retirement contributions, there's simply less money available to waste. Third, millionaires think in terms of net worth, not income. They don't measure their success by how much they earned this year. They measure it by how much their total wealth grew. This seems like a small distinction, but it completely changes behavior. When you focus on income, spending feels like a reward you've earned. When you focus on net worth, spending feels like a withdrawal from your future. Fourth, their spouses are often even more frugal than they are. Stanley found that in most millionaire households, the spouse played a critical role in maintaining discipline. In many cases, the spouse was the one who set the frugal tone for the family. Millionaires frequently credited their partner's discipline as a major factor in their wealth. Fifth, they set financial goals. Not vague ones like save more money. Specific, written goals like increase net worth by 12% this year, invest 20% of pre-tax income, keep annual household expenses under $80,000. This level of intentionality separates builders from spenders. Stanley and Danko emphasize a crucial point. Frugality is not about deprivation. The millionaires in their study didn't feel like they were missing out. They simply had different priorities. A new car every 3 years meant nothing to them. Financial independence meant everything. Stanley tells a story that perfectly illustrates the frugal millionaire mindset. He interviewed a millionaire who owned a successful mobile home dealership. The man was worth several $1 million. But when Stanley arrived at his office, he noticed the furniture was old and worn. The carpet was thin. The office hadn't been redecorated in at least a decade. Stanley asked him about it. The millionaire looked around the room and said something like, "Why would I spend money on new furniture? My customers don't care. My employees don't care. It still works fine." Then he pointed out the window at his inventory lot and said, "Every dollar I don't spend on this office is a dollar that goes into more inventory or investments. That's where money grows. It doesn't grow on office walls." This is the millionaire mindset distilled into its purest form. Every spending decision is filtered through one question. Does this grow my wealth or shrink it? Contrast this with what Stanley calls the aspirational spenders, the high-income professionals who furnish their offices with expensive art, drive to work in luxury cars, and wear designer suits. They look more successful, but their net worth tells a completely different story. Stanley found that doctors and lawyers were among the worst wealth accumulators relative to their income, not because they earned too little, but because their social environments demanded enormous spending. Their peers expected luxury. Their neighborhoods demanded display. Their lifestyles consumed every dollar they earned, and often more. The mobile home dealer with the ugly office was worth more than most of them. Stanley's frugality research finds a perfect modern echo in the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. Since 2015 and gaining popularity in the early 2020s, the FIRE movement brought Stanley's principles to a new generation. The core idea is very similar. Cut your expenses aggressively, save 50 to 70% of your income, invest the difference, and achieve financial independence years or decades before traditional retirement age. One of the most well-known FIRE practitioners is a former software engineer from Colorado, known online as Mr. Money Mustache. He retired at 30 with roughly $600,000 in investments by doing exactly what Stanley's Millionaires did, living on a fraction of his income while his peers spent everything. He drove a used bicycle instead of a car. He cut his own hair. He cooked every meal at home. He lived in a modest house. His blog documented every detail of this frugal lifestyle and attracted millions of readers worldwide. But here's where it gets interesting. A 2023 survey by the financial platform Empower found that while 60% of Americans were familiar with FIRE, only 21% were actually practicing it. The most common reason people gave for not following through? Social pressure. They couldn't bring themselves to live below the standard their peers expected. That's exactly what Stanley warned about 25 years earlier. The knowledge isn't the problem. Everyone knows they should spend less and save more. The problem is the social cost of frugality, driving an old car when your coworkers drive new ones, bringing lunch when everyone else goes to restaurants, wearing the same clothes while your friends refresh their wardrobes every season. Stanley's Millionaires solved this problem by simply not caring what others thought. The FIRE movement proves that when you adopt that same indifference to social expectations, the math of wealth building becomes almost trivially simple. This is a profound idea that goes beyond personal finance. Stanley and Danko are really talking about the relationship between freedom and consumption. Every dollar you spend on something you don't need is a dollar that owns you because you'll need to earn it again. Every dollar you save is a dollar that frees you because it works for you from that point forward. Most people think of frugality as restriction. The millionaires in this study think of it as liberation. When you don't need a big house, a nice car, or expensive clothes to feel good about yourself, you are fundamentally free in a way that most people never experience. Think about it. If your lifestyle costs $200,000 a year, you must earn at least that much every year. You can't take risks. You can't change careers. You can't start a business. You can't say no to a terrible boss. Your expenses are a chain. If your lifestyle costs $60,000 a year and you earn $150,000, you have $90,000 of freedom every year. You can invest it. You can take a year off. You can walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. Stanley found that millionaires understood this intuitively. Their frugality wasn't about the money itself, but it was about what the money represented. Control, options, independence, the ability to make choices based on what they wanted, not what they owed. And here's the paradox. By not spending like rich people, they became actually rich. And by becoming actually rich, they gained the ultimate luxury that no purchase can provide. The freedom to do whatever they want with their time. This chapter changed my relationship with spending. Before reading this, I thought frugality was what you practiced when you didn't have enough money. After reading it, I understood that frugality is what you practice because you want enough money, forever. The most powerful line in this chapter, for me, is when Stanley says that millionaires allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. It's that word, efficiently. They're not suffering. They're optimizing. They've just chosen to optimize for a different variable than most people. Most people optimize for appearance. Millionaires optimize for net worth. And over 20, 30, 40 years, the gap between those two strategies becomes astronomical. There are 3 takeaways from this chapter. First, pay yourself first, literally. Before any bill, any dinner, any purchase, move money into savings and investments. Set up automatic transfers on payday. If you invest first and spend what's left, you'll naturally adjust your lifestyle downward. If you spend first and save what's left, you'll save nothing. Second, track your net worth monthly, not your income. Open a spreadsheet, list every asset and every liability. Calculate the difference. Update it every month. When you watch your net worth grow, it becomes addictive. You'll start cutting expenses, not because you have to, but because you want to see that number climb. Third, find your enough. Millionaires aren't depriving themselves. They've simply figured out what level of spending makes them genuinely happy, and it's almost always far less than what they can afford. Ask yourself honestly, what do I spend money on that adds zero happiness to my life? Cut that. Keep everything that genuinely matters. That's not deprivation, that's clarity. Chapter 2 teaches us that wealth isn't built on a big salary. It's built on the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Millionaires don't just earn more, they need less. In the next video, we'll tackle Chapter 3, where Stanley and Danko explore how millionaires allocate their most precious resource, their time, and why the way you spend your hours matters more than the way you spend your dollars. If this video made you rethink your own spending habits, hit subscribe and share it with someone who's caught in the earn and spend trap. See you in the next one.